Hey everybody, Eric here with a weekly wrap up for March 23rd through the 29th. Let's double check that. Yeah, that's what the calendar tells me. On my channel, well, not a lot this past week. I was sick last weekend into the week, and so the only video I recorded was a weekly wrap up just to tell people I was sick and that there might not be a reading remembrances, and there wasn't. So I did post my weekly wrap up on Monday. Was my review for Damien Omen 2, because review wise on the channel we're in the middle of my book bundle books that are number twos. So the first one was Psycho 2, and then this past Monday I posted my review for Damien Omen 2. Check that out. No reading remembrances. On Friday was my review for The Unseen 2 by Brian Smith. Please check out that video. And so this coming week, or this week, the week this video pops up, will be the last two of those number twos, which will be Jaws 2 and the Amityville Horror 2. So please check those out when they drop. So yes, I was sick, so didn't do a lot of anything. I called off work Monday and Tuesday. I was kind of hoping I'd feel better enough to record a reading remembrances at some point before Wednesday, but that didn't happen. I ended up going back to work on Wednesday, and then oddly on Friday, the moment I pulled into the parking lot at work Friday morning, I had a sneeze attack. I sneezed 6 times in a row, just real quick, real heavy sneezes. And then I was just sneezing all day and blowing my nose and sniffling. No idea what caused it. Got home and it was not as bad at all. Still some sniffling, a little bit of sneezing. And now much better, I think. Still tiny bit of sniffling, but I think that's my general terrible habit of sniffing stuff. But so I'm feeling much better. I've already recorded my reading remembrances, and I have one book to review. Oh, let's talk about that. This is the weekly wrap up. I finished Boys in the Valley by Philip Fracassi, and when I'm done with this video, I'm going to record my review for this, and it will go up at some point after the number twos book bundle. I'm currently reading, the dust jacket is off of this, but it's one of those wonderful books that has the art on the hardcover, England's Screaming by Sean Hogan. Look at that beautiful cover. This is from PS Publishing. This came out, I believe, in 2020 is the copyright. I've had this since it came out, but I felt intimidated by it. But Kaylee Dobbs of Happy Goat Horror interviewed the author, Sean Hogan, and so that was a few weeks ago. I believe that interview went up on her channel. When I was looking for something to read, that popped into my head, and I was like, all right, it's time to give it a try. I'm this far in. You can see about a third of the way, according to Goodreads. Looks like more than that, but I think it was like 38%. So technically more than a third of the way. But I don't want to talk too much about it because, of course, when I finish it, I will review it, and then you'll learn my thoughts. But this is what I'm currently reading. And there's a sequel to this, which I bought as soon as it came out, and I don't think that's going to sit around as long. Because I'll probably want to read it not too far after having finished this, just so I don't lose, the thread. All right. Worked 3 days out of 5 because of the sickness. And work was odd because I think I've mentioned that there seems to be a choke point somewhere at work. I work putting caulking and polishing Vitamix, the shells basically for places like McDonald's and Wendy's. Right now, I guess this is a huge order for Wendy's stuff. And there should be a nice flow where we just keep caulking and polishing, caulking and polishing. But at least 4 out of 5 days, because I was told this happened on Tuesday as well, we finished what we could do with Vitamix by noon. And so the nice thing is, if we run out of work, we just do work from another department. So Wednesday, a couple of the other people in my section were just taping boxes together. But 3 of us were, 2 of my coworkers were putting things in these little plastic bags, and then I had this heat sealer. They would fill the bag, I would seal the bag, throw it in a box. And that stuff is later going to go somewhere. And then, that was Wednesday or Thursday. And then Friday, we were basically doing the same thing, different bags with different things in them. Because we finished what we were doing for Vitamix. We did this bag stuff until noon. And then after lunch, we actually got some more Vitamix stuff that we were able to do till the end of the day. But yeah, I guess I'd rather just do my job. But it's nice that if we run out of our work specifically, I don't get sent home. There's plenty of other work for us to do. So that was the work week. The big thing, I got books. I went to Half Price Books. I got rid of some games. Games that just aren't getting played, or games that I like well enough, but nobody else wants to play them. So again, not getting played. And then there's always games I get that just don't turn out to be as good as I had hoped. So traded in some games, got a bunch of books. But technically this is sort of 3 chunks of books. I don't know the best way to put it. Let me move this, because I'm going to start putting books on over there when I show you. So this is everything I picked up. It's a mini book haul. Everything I picked up at Half Price Books today. And you're going to see what I mean by 3 chunks. So, for those of you who watched last week, I had an even smaller book haul. And one of the books I got was Spaceways #1, which is an adult science fiction series. And I talked about how they had 2 of them on the shelf and the rest locked up in their little adult cabinet. Well, since I traded stuff in and had a bunch of credit, I went back and got the rest of those books. Still one of them on the shelf. #1 was on the shelf. #3 was on the shelf. And now I did say I thought there were like 10 or 12 locked up. I was way off. But I picked up the rest. So we have #2, Corundum's Woman. And then we have #3, Escape from Macho. And I think that the main characters change. I believe the first 3 have the same leading lady, but eventually, I think the main characters change, but then some of the older characters come back. But #4, Satana Enslaved. Satana is actually a spaceship. And then we have #5, Master of Misfit. So this is a new leading character, and then this guy is a thief. There's lots of pirates and sex slaves and stuff. Spaceways, Perfect Plunder. I think this cat lady has 4 boobs. I don't think those are her abs up there. I think she's got 4 boobs. And then #7, The Manhuntress, which this is back to the lady that was with the guy with the wings. So 7, I have all 7 now. And little side note, or all 7 that they had. I don't know how many are in the series. But little side note, I went over to the shelf and grabbed #3. And then got an employee. We went over to the case. I said I would like to get something from the case. And I grabbed 2, 4, 5, and 6. And he took all of them. He says, I'll take these up. Are you done shopping? I said, no, I'm not. He's like, all right, I'll take these up to the counter for you. You can get them when you're done shopping. I was like, great, thank you. I went off to look around for more stuff because this was the first thing I did when I walked in there. Second thing. First thing I did was give them the stuff I was trading in. So I'm looking at other books, and that guy came over and found me and said, you're Eric, right? You got the Spaceways books? I was like, yep, that's me, sir. He said, did you notice that there was another one on the other side of the case? I said, I did not. He's like, yep. So it's there if you want that too. So we walked over. That was number 7. I don't know why it was on the other side of the case from the other ones. So I obviously grabbed that one too. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is good customer service. I've never had a problem with any of the people that work at this particular Half Price Books. Very kind and courteous and conscientious. So yes. So 2 through 7 of the Spaceways series goes in with the number 1 that I got last week. Speaking of books I got last week, here's some more to go with 3 that I got last week. And this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 books from the excuse me. 5 books from the Destroyer series. So we have number 32, Killer Chromosomes. Look at that, like tiger lady on the cover. So this is the Remo Williams series. For anybody who's seen the movie Remo Williams, The Adventure Begins. Very cheesy but fun movie. I'm a big fan because I love the series. And last week I got 3. I found 3 of the Destroyer books in a different look. You're going to see all of these have basically the same look. And I talked about that a little bit last week because I said I like this look more than the look of the other ones that I got. Anyway, so Remo Williams was a cop who was framed for murder. He was executed, but actually saved by a secret government organization. And he's trained by this Asian man named Chiun. Chiun. I don't know how to pronounce it properly. And he's like an assassin with almost total control over his body. And just over the top, men's adventure, James Bond, but he's not a spy. He's an assassin working for a top secret government organization. Like only the president knows that this organization exists. And when the outgoing president is leaving and briefing the incoming president, the existence of this group is one of the things that he tells him about. But anyway, so the Destroyer, number 32, Killer Chromosomes. And then the Destroyer, number 33, Voodoo Die. And I mentioned this last week, and I actually had to check. I have new editions of the first 30 books in this series. And I would have bought more, but it seems that those were the only ones that I could find in physical copies. After that, a bunch of them are available digitally, but only the first 30 were available physically. And so I was buying them. Like each time I would order something from Amazon, I'd add the next Destroyer book. They had a bunch of these Destroyer books at Half Price Books, a bunch that between 1 and 30. And I said last week I'd love to have them all in these editions. And maybe if they'd had 1 through 30 and I had the money, I would have gotten all of those and then just traded in the ones that I have. Because I love these old editions. But they didn't have all of them. And then I couldn't remember if I only had up to 30 or if I thought maybe it was like the first 32 or the first 34. Well, not 32 necessarily. Well, I took a chance. So there's a couple that I did not get. They might have had 31, and I didn't get it because I didn't know if I had it or not. But anyway, luckily I didn't check because I didn't expect to find these. I didn't check the ones that I have in these old paperbacks. I didn't get any doubles. I got lucky. Anyway, let's continue. This is the Destroyer, number 44, Balance of Power. And you can see a slight difference they've moved the picture and made it a little larger. But bright colors and these crazy pictures. And then the Destroyer 45, Spoils of War. And number 56, Encounter Group, UFOs. So, yes, 5 Destroyer books to add to my collection. There's hundreds, and I have, 30, 40, between 40 and 50 maybe. I'm not sure exactly how many of these mass market paperback size ones I have. And maybe I'll go back next week and make sure that I know exactly which ones I have, see if they have any left, and maybe even pick up some of the ones that I have in trade paperback size, start trading those in. But anyway, there you go, 5 Destroyer books. Finally, here we go, I got 4 books. Thanks to Judith Sonnet, who recommended 5 books. 4 of them were in serviceable condition. The 5th book, they had a copy, but it was in absolutely terrible condition. There was no way I was going to pick that up. But Judith Sonnet recently read this particular book, was raving about it, and I commented on the author, my experience with the author, and asked if she could, and this might give it away, let me know if you figure out who I'm talking about before I reveal. I said if she could recommend any books that didn't follow the formula of a kid dies 100 years ago, a new family moves into town in the modern day, they have a kid who becomes possessed by the spirit of the dead kid from 100 years ago. So if you can recommend any of his books that don't follow that formula, I'll give it a chance. Because the first book I ever read by this author did not follow that formula, and I loved it. And the next 3 books, if I'm not mistaken, all followed that formula. The first one of those that I read, I thought it was great. Then the next one I read, and I was like, this is basically the same thing. And then I read another one, and I was like, this is still the same thing. But Judith Sonnet, the wonderful Judith Sonnet, said, try these 5. Well, now I have 4 of them. And just if you haven't guessed by now, I'm talking about John Saul. And so, we have Unloved, The Unloved, by John Saul. This is the one, I believe this is the one that she read and was talking about on Facebook, and said that basically this is a slasher. Hopefully I'm talking about the right book. There's a lot going on, other stuff going on, but she says basically it's a slasher. It's like an 80s slasher. So this was one that she recommended to me specifically, and I dig the cover. Always love a skull face. So The Unloved, John Saul. Guardian by John Saul. Creature by John Saul. And Shadows by John Saul. There you go. That's everything that I picked up at Half Price Books today. And, I've been in the mood for old horror or older horror. I try to mix things up to keep the reviews and things interesting to people, hopefully. But I think I might read The Unloved next. That might be the next thing I read. Because I've got so many like paperbacks from hell types of books, old 70s, 80s, 90s horror that I'm just, anytime I find some good stuff, good looking stuff, good sounding stuff at Half Price Books or anywhere, I grab it. There was a store on Etsy I was getting books from. They seem to be gone now, unfortunately. I need to find another dealer. And I've really just been in the mood to dive into that stuff. But I don't know if that's what people would think if it was just that kind of review, one after another, especially if they're books that aren't easy to get. So I do try to mix it up, but I've really been in the mood, so I might jump on that Unloved. And I still have at least 3, possibly 4 book bundles in mind that I want to get to, but I like to space those out, and I need to read the next paperback from hell. I'm really kind of behind on those. But anyway, there you go. That's my book haul. Basically, just 3 different authors, technically 4, depending. The Destroyer books are by 2 people, but at this point, it might just be a ghostwriter. I don't know. So either 3 or 4 different authors, but 6, 11, 15 books. And I think that's it. That's all I have for this weekly wrap up. Yeah, that's all I got. Question for this video. Do you have a favorite really long running series? Which it's an odd question. I'm not sure people are going to have necessarily an answer, because you have to be I think for a super long running series, you have to be a fan of this sort of thing, like The Destroyer, that's got well over 100 books, as I said. Or there's a Western series, The Trailsman. Trailsman. That's got to be what it is. It has to have an S in there. That's kind of, I've always equated it with these Spaceway books, where they're adult westerns, because there seems to be a lot of sex in them. And there's well over 100 of those. I have very few. Love those old editions with those great covers, pulpy covers. So, I can see people saying, oh, the Spencer by Robert B. Parker. That's a long-running series. I absolutely love that series. I could see a certain viewer saying the Easy Rollins series. But that's a dozen books. So, is there a super, like a really long-running series that you're a fan of? That reminds me, I forgot to buy a book. There was I bought a Pellucidar book, an Edgar Rice Burroughs At the Earth's Core Pellucidar series. I bought one last week, and I mentioned in that video that there was another one that I thought I might have. Turns out I didn't. And I meant to pick it up today, and I forgot to. But anyway, all right, that's a little digression there. Is there any really, really long-running series that you're a fan of? What is it? What do you like about it? For me, obviously, The Destroyer, which is just super over-the-top, violent, crazy fun, in my opinion. Although, having gone back relatively recently and read the first couple, the first one especially seems very, very conservative in its politics. I don't remember them being like that when I was reading them back in the day, because I read a ton, especially when I was in Iceland. Excuse me. But things like that, The Destroyer, Doc Savage, well over 100, possibly. Not sure about the exact count for Doc Savage, but love Doc Savage. See, I'm not going to count like the Edgar Rice Burroughs stuff in here, because they're not as long as what I'm talking about. But yeah, because I love pulp stuff and sort of this crazy action stuff, there are a few really long-running series that I really enjoy just for the fun factor. Think the A-Team, just the TV show, not the shitty movie. Just a fun action-packed, brainless entertainment. But the question was, are you a fan of anything like this? If so, what is it? But you can, any series, it doesn't have to be hundreds of books. Let me know what your favorite ongoing series of books is. Although The Destroyer's not still ongoing, as far as I know. Doc Savage technically is. As well as there's new Tarzan stuff and all that. But anyway, let me know in the comments below. If you have any comments, questions, or corrections, please put those in the comments below. Comments are open for spoilers. Just post spoiler warning. We try to be polite here on my channel. Please like, share, and subscribe. All the usual YouTube stuff. If you care to follow me on other social media, I'll have links for my Instagram and Bluesky in the description below. And yeah, that is all I have for you this week. So until next week, read more books.